Hey YouTube, ChannelMST here, bringing you a deck profile. Today we're going to be going over Chainburn. This is the modification I have from the first Chainburn deck, the version 1.0. So I'm not going to give a deck list because I already gave a deck list in the first video. So I'm just going to be going over the deck changes I made and why I made those changes, and then kind of maybe some stuff on how I would side, and a little bit of talk on the extra deck as well. So starting with the deck, we have the change up first off was I got rid of 3 Threatening Roars and I replaced them with 3 Jar of Greeds. Thanks to the comments people are making and stuff like that, they brought up pretty valid points. That Jar of Greed, or that, Threatening Roar wasn't really that good. And that's very, very valid because, card D, if you draw into a Threatening Roar, you can't set it. Also during your opponent's turn, if they go into their battle phase and they attack for game. If you go Jar of Greed, Legacy, you draw into Threatening Roar, you can't play it, so they just attack for game and there's nothing you can do about it. So I took the Threatening Roars out for Jar of Greed. Same thing, happens there, you draw it, you can't play it, but I did put in Swift Scarecrows, because Swift Scarecrow, you draw it with cardcar D, or, Jar of Greed, Legacy, Accumulated, Reckless, so forth. Then you can actually play it during your opponent's turn if you draw it sometime between your turn and their turn. So that's good there. And I took out 3 Threatening Roars for this, and then when I took out for the 2 Swift Scarecrows, so I took out Morphing Jar and Marshmelon. And that's the only change I made to the main deck. So to discuss why I did that, Morphing Jar isn't really needed. I know people are going to be, getting on my case about how that's totally not true. However, the reason I'm saying it's not needed is just because when I play the deck, and like I said, I've been playing it a lot online. Even if I get really bad hands or something, most of the time I'm going to have good card advantage, and every single time I've drawn Morphing Jar, I either have to set up my field properly, a Threatening Roar or something, or some way to just basically make it so they don't, attack into it. Or it's not going to be, that useful. Like, it just sits in my hand, or I have to play around it, basically, or, really try to work with it. So it's just basically a really situational card in the deck that, it sounds really good. It obviously would play okay if you get low in card advantage, but game 1, nobody's going to be maining Decrees in the meta. The only deck that might be maining something would be Dino Rabbit, and they'd be maining Macrocosmos to hurt Insectors and Windups, and Dark World, and whatever else. However, no deck right now is currently maining Royal Decree just because it's not, at least not in the big tournaments. They're not doing it just because it's too much of a risk. So your game 1s are gonna be, you're gonna win game 1. With should be no problem. You win game 1, and then game 2 and game 3 are going to be your uphill battles. So I put Morphing Jar on the side deck because he's still needed. He's just not needed game 1. So now moving on to the side deck discussion. What we side in obviously against pretty much every deck is going to be 3 MSTs and 1 heavy, which I think we'll actually side in against every single matchup. And then depending on what we're going against, Morphing Jar, maybe not against Dark Worlds. But everything else, pretty much, Morphing Jar, except for the Mirror, we probably wouldn't put Morphing Jar in. And then 2 Marshmelons. And basically what this allows is, because Heavy Storm and MST, they're a -1. They don't do anything for our deck. The only thing they do is they get rid of Decree. They don't give burn damage, they don't draw for us. They add a Chain Link, I guess you could say, so that's good. But they don't do anything else. And so with these -1s in the deck, then we add Morphing Jar, because then our hand count's going to be lower, and Morphing Jar can then be a little more viable option to be able to set it and then use it. And then we also have Marshmelon, because by taking out cards in our deck game 2 and game 3, we're basically slowing our deck down, and making it less, basically taking out its power, because we need to counter the trap negation stuff, all the hate basically. So then we put in Marshmelons and Morphing Jar to draw, to make up for what we're siding in, and then Marshmelon to give extra stall to slow down our opponent's deck from killing us, and also to add in a new burn card to the deck to help us get in more burn damage in other ways besides using traps. And so that's what we decided against most matchups. And then I guess we'll probably just move on to specifics against insectors. We'd probably put in these three. And so against something like windups or Dino Rabbit, we'd side in like almost all of these cards. So it'd be a pretty huge change up in the whole deck. And these would actually give a lot of power for the deck, which is good. And then for the mirror, we would side in 3 Rainbow Life, 3 MST. Not sure about the heavy, but it could combo because you can go 1 day apiece. If they don't chain to 1 day apiece, then you can go heavy. But MST is great against the mirror because you can MST during their in phase, and if you hit like a Jar of Greed or a Ojama Trio or something that stops their chain links, that's really good there. So it's just good for one-on-one destruction. That is really good that way. And then also against the mirror, I'd side in Veiler. And that sounds weird, but if you think about it, if a burn deck is going against another burn deck, that other burn deck doesn't run that many monsters. So how are they going to make use of cards like just Desserts? Also, Secret Barrel would get lost too because you wouldn't have as many monsters on the board, so you'd kind of lose a little bit of burn power there. And also these cards right here are all dead, so then your overall burn damage you're going to be doing your opponent is like decreased dramatically. So what happens is they're going to rely on Trio a lot more because Trio actually gives them monsters. And they'll probably side out the Lava Golems, because your opponent doesn't run any monsters, so why do you want to take their monster count down by 1 when they don't really run that many monsters in the first place? So you really focus on the Trio, and that actually opens up the possibility of Synchros. And since our extra deck doesn't really have anything in it, we can put stuff in there. So against the mirror, what I would be doing is I would side in this, and then when they go Trio, I would summon Veiler, pop 2 tokens in the Veiler to bring out Android, and then gain 600. The following turn, if I drew another Veiler, which is not that uncommon because we have so much draw power in the deck, and if we run 3, it's we can easily get 2 in our hand. We would summon the next Veiler, pop the Veiler, the 3rd token, and the Android to bring out this guy. And he basically gets rid of burn, kills burn decks. So that would be the strategy against the mirror. That would be our ideal thing to get out and do. Also, if they get rid of this with Lava Golem, or somehow they get rid of this, then you can still go. If they get do Ojama Trio again, then you can get rid of all 3 tokens, with your 3rd Veiler, for example, and then go into Psychic Life Transfer, and then remove your Magical Android to gain 1200. So there's that too, and then we also have Black Rose if you want to just clear the board or something, or Urbellum. So if they've already gone off, and then you just attack directly, So it's good there. So it's good that we have these synchro options. I'm probably going to put more in just because it's very situational. You might just go into another Android, for example, or something like that. So again, very situational on what you do, but that's why Veilers are really good against the mirror, and just good overall now because of the new priority, because they got rid of the exception in priority, which is it was kind of a matter of time before they got rid of that exception, so that's kind of interesting there. But yeah, and then these rank 3s and rank 2s are just because we can go into them. Again, these are probably never going to be played. And that's it for the deck discussion. ChannelMST signing off.